Welcome to the Irrelevant Podcast. I'm Nathan Jones with my co-host Alex Lewis. Today we have a bonus episode, episode 31 here
32.
on the podcast. Is it 32?
Yeah.
Oh,
We're not going to talk about that, though. It's too early for you.
wow, man, it is too early for me. But on this wonderful episode, we have Aaron Straker here with us. Aaron, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, gentlemen.
Well, Aaron, Alex and I are pretty familiar with a lot of your work. We both follow you and kind of tracked you for a little bit of time here and kind of kept up with what you're doing. But for those who are clueless in the fitness and health and industry and world around us, can you go ahead and tell these fine folks who in the world you are?
Yeah, so name Aaron Straker. I'm 35 years old. I am an online nutrition coach. I've been doing that full time for about 6 years now. I'm sure we might talk into it a little bit. I have a previous life where I worked in software engineering or as a software engineer, wondering if this was going to be it and if this is what I was really going to do with my life. And then eventually at the ripe age of 30, I was like, I'm going to go into the fitness industry like I had originally intended on when I was 17. So work primarily now with one-on-one with a lot of clients. My average client age is 41, which is quite interesting there. I'm very, very big and love kind of helping I was going to say men, but I am getting a good amount of female clients now, kind of take one last big stab at like becoming the athlete again, which resonates like very, very strongly with myself because I am, like I said, 35 and kind of struggling with the fear that like I may be like these peak performance years, maybe like I may be nearing them, so I do really, really enjoy that part of it with working with clients who are like, no, we can still train hard. We can still get you in really, really, really damn good shape. And we just have to be wiser about it and those sorts of things. So nutrition is my forte. That's where I would say my strong points are. I'm sure we might talk a little bit about training as well, which I love to. But yeah, work primarily one-on-one with clients. That's my bread and butter. I have some other, smaller projects and stuff with other coaches and different kind of business avenues as I, broaden my depth into the entrepreneurial pursuits, but that is who I am.
Awesome. So you said that most of your clients are in that kind of range where they feel like their peak performance is falling off. Do you see a lot of people come to you earlier in their life and try to get nutritional advice as well? Have you had a lot of younger clients, or are they mainly those clients that are transitioning to a different phase of life?
It depends. I would say I skew a little bit older, I guess, because people like hear me speak and they get this incorrect perception that I'm mature, in these sorts of things. But no, like I have some younger clients too, like mid-20s, those sorts of things. But I mean, I have is just as many like 25-year-olds I have is like 55-year-olds, and I will say I do get more joy personally and fulfillment out of like that 55-year-old man who like wants to get in shape, that last time and try and keep it because he realizes that some of his friends are having heart attacks and shit like that. You know what I mean? That one just, it packs a more profound punch in the grand scheme of life than, a 24-year-old who thinks that getting jacked is going to find him a wife or a partner or something like that.
We like the getting jacked thing. No, I think that a lot of people that come to me for my services are kind of in that age range too. They're that later stage of either their kids are gone or, their grandkid, they're wanting to be in shape for their grandkids and they want to be able to do the things that their grandkids do. Is that kind of some of the similar things that you see as well with those clients? Or is it more, I just know that I'm really out of shape and I really have to do something about my eating or it's not going to change?
Yeah, I get some of that, but I would say I still get more of the like, okay, I'm a man, I'm 55, I might be 24% body fat, and I want to get back down to like 15 and maybe not have like shredded abs, but like I want the gut gone sort of thing. And which we see with, in the day and age of social media and stuff, like there's people in their 50s who are crushing it still in amazing shape. So it's very, very doable. It's just the hardest part is honestly, like, you're successful now because you've been working in, corporate or whatever for all of these years. It's much easier to spend money on higher calorically dense foods and meals out. The kids might be grown now, and you and the wife can now, do more with more time and those sorts of things. So that's the hard part, is like you've grinded, from a financial standpoint, to have all of the financial flexibility and freedom to, what's the word I want to say? Like just not consume, but like spend more, eat out more. But what comes with that is obviously the inherent extra calories and those sorts of things. So it's like really, it's working back the habits in the actions that have compiled over the decade or two. Not so much that, like, yes, testosterone's lower. Yes, cells replicate slower. Yes, metabolic efficiency and stuff isn't what it was 30 years ago. But those are like the 10%. It's the lifestyle stuff that's the 80, really.
Do you have a lot of people that are always like, they always come to me in this case, and I don't know if you get this a lot. They're like, eating's the hardest part. Changing my food's the hardest part. Diet's the hardest part. What would you say to those people that's like trying to change their diet and they're always saying that it's the hardest part? Do you believe that it's the hardest part, or what's kind of the process you go to help people change their eating habits?
Yeah, I would say it's hardest in that the slightest, the seemingly slightest actions have the greatest, like, profound or cascading effect. You know what I mean? Like, you go to the gym for 90 minutes and bust ass, you know what I mean? Like, that's a big time commitment for whatever, let's call it 700 calories or something like that. Whereas, like, you are planning to have like the poke bowl from the corner spot for dinner. Someone at work's like, oh, let's go to the Italian's place, and you get like the risotto or the chicken parm with some cheese and 2 glasses of wine, and there's 2,000 calories. You know what I mean? And it's like, the food is hardest because it's a seemingly small action that has this like great, magnitude of effect. And not to really shell out my secrets, but something that I'll do with clients to help them is people make it seem like it's outside of their control. Like, oh, I can't do it. And I will challenge their ego a little bit, right? And it works on some clients. Other clients get pissed. And I'll be like, you're telling me, you 52-year-old male who's scaled the corporate ladder over these years, wildly successful, and has done all these extremely hard, challenging things, you can't say no to a glass of wine on Friday night, right? Because everyone knows they can. They just don't want to, right? And it's when you challenge people at that, and it's like, dude, you've succeeded in life. Like, you've reached those upper echelons that everyone wants to do, but so many cannot. You have already done that. You have already created a pattern of success in your life, financially, and these things that are very, very challenging. You can easily do this. So you already have a pattern of success. It's the getting over that initial hump that, like, I need to change how I fundamentally make decisions throughout the day around, my perception and relationship with exercise and food. Like, that is the challenging part. But instead of trying to come at it from the angle of like tips and hacks and these sorts of things, I'm like, you're faced with a simple yes or no decision, right? It's you consciously choosing that you want to go down a different path instead of just saying that you want to, sort of thing.
Yeah. Either do it or don't. Alex likes that. Alex is very cut and dry. He's just like, what? Either do it or don't. I don't really care. That's usually what Alex would say.
Well, yeah, there is no, it's like Yoda, man. There's no try, just do. Right.
And one thing I'll say is, like, I'm very contextual, right? And it's like, I like to say everything is results dependent, right? Are we meeting our rate of loss? Or do we have a good string of successes? Yeah. Okay, let's go get that Italian dinner. Like, take the wife out, something like that, or take the husband out. Like, we have a really good track record. It's not this is gone forever, but it's the clients who can't string together a decent 2 weeks who think that they need a free meal to like kickstart their metabolism. And I'm like, no,
No.
you,
No,
you
you
haven't
don't.
strung together 2 consistent weeks. Like that doesn't, it's not how it works, you know?
I think it's funny when you ask people to track. I always say I kind of give them that 2 weeks. I'm like, hey, you show them the sheet, you show them their macro breakdown, you show them like, this is what you should do. This is how you should do it. And then you just like, do it for 2 weeks. Let's see what you can do in 2 weeks. And that way we'll have kind of a better idea of what you're eating. And they can't even give me the 2 weeks. And it's like, well, then we don't really even have a starting point. Do you see that a lot with people, or are the people that come to you pretty dedicated at the point that they're at?
I would say like, yes, you know, or when, so first I was like, I won't take on clients without a consult. Right. And I'm very just transparent and honest. And like, this is, you know, what based off of your current situation, where we're at, what we want to do, like, this is what we're looking at, you know, and I'll kind of, depending on the client, right? If someone comes to me and they're like, Aaron, you know, I'm getting married in 10 weeks. I want to be down like 20 pounds, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, great. We have a short timeline. I want you to be successful because we're only getting married one time, right? We're going to look our best. I'm making 90% of your decisions for you, and you need to white knuckle it because we have 10 weeks. You know, that's, if you would have came to me 4 months ago, we would be having a different conversation. We have 10 weeks. The final 2 weeks are going to be hell, and we're probably not going to make much progress anyway. We have 8 weeks. I'm making your decisions for you, and you're just executing, you know,
Right.
and I frame it as such. But it depends. Like if someone comes to me and they're a little bit, you know, maybe have some previous failures at things and they're a little bit apprehensive or afraid of like a restrictive meal plan or something like that, I try and meet my clients where they are, all within the bounds of the goal. Or I help them reframe the goal if they have a very unrealistic goal. And I'll just be honest about it, because I like to say, I don't play a game that I can't win, you know? And if someone came to me and said, hey, Aaron, it's whatever, I have this thing in 6 weeks that I need to be ready for, but I don't want to track my calories, I'd be like, listen, I'm not the resource for you. You know, I wish you the best, but I'm not going to take on something that we're doomed to fail.
Are a lot of people's weight loss goals a little unrealistic when it comes to timelines? Do you see that happen a lot?
Honestly, no, I wouldn't say that they are unrealistic to their timeline,
Right.
the timelines. I think what's unrealistic is how consistent they need to be on that timeline, right? Like so for example, I just had a client that him and I wrapped up. We did 25 pounds, 25, 26 pounds in 12 weeks, right? From like 201 to 175. That's over 2 pounds on average lost per week for 12 weeks straight. It is doable, right? And there was no crazy low calories. We had him training 4 days per week, hitting the sauna 3 days after training, and just steps and stuff, and like really, really, you know, consistent on his nutrition. That's doable. It's not outrageous, but what's outrageous is to ask, you know, someone to not miss for 12 weeks straight. That's the problem. Like, it's doable, but on average, I've found with like, you know, majority of clients, about 1 in every 5 weeks, we have like a non-progress week. And that might be, you know, work sends them to, you know, I have a client who travels internationally a lot, right? And those are non-progress weeks, because if at his body composition, like he's already 18% body fat, something like that, like you need your margins for success are smaller, right? If you're, you know, a male at 30% body fat, like, yeah, we can travel and not sabotage ourselves and be successful. But when you're already at a, you know, sub 20% body fat in a healthy body composition, your margins for success are just smaller, you know? So I would say like that's really what it is it's the consistency that over an X a period of time, which is less realistic for most.
Right. Alex, what you got?
Aaron, what made you decide to become a nutrition coach? Out of all the things you can coach, I feel like this is by far, like you're saying, one of the most like fickle things that people don't want to do. And then like the margin, like you're saying, of error, especially if you're getting super shredded. Because like the example you put out is you're in great shape and you eat really well all the time. right? And people are like, oh, I could do that. And I don't think they understand how fucking difficult that is.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll answer the question, but yeah, it's October 21st. I've been on the same meal plan since January 1st. And the only thing that's changed is at one point in the beginning there was beef and sweet potato in the final meal, and that I was getting too full as I was gaining, and we swapped that to a salmon with avocado. And then after like 4 months of the salmon every day, I was like, I am so goddamn sick of salmon. I need something else. So we put like tuna in, and now it's either like tuna or away at night. But everything else is just like rice goes up in the pre-meal, or bread goes up or it goes down. But I digress. So what initially got me into it, so back in like the late 2010s, or mid into late 2010s, I was like really big into the CrossFit space, and living in Southern California in San Diego, and was doing that. And I had a bad injury where I ruptured my Achilles one year, and overnight had a lot of time on my hands, because it's like I was working from home like 3 days per week. But I mean, I was in a cast up to my knee, like I could do absolutely fuck all. So I started reading some books and stuff, and that's where I actually started to learn about like nutrition science instead of just like the dogma of nutrition, which at the time in the CrossFit space was like paleo was still really, really big. Zone was around, but it wasn't nearly like what paleo was. And the thing that's really funny looking back on now is like with, CrossFit, and at the time we were doing like competitive CrossFit. Like we were like multiple workouts per day, a couple times per week. Very, very high intensity stuff, but no one was eating carbs. Like you might have a sweet potato fry with like a burger once per week, but it was like your pre-training meal was bacon and black coffee, before you went and did a 45-minute workout where your heart rate would sit at 160 the entire time, sort of thing. Like we were fueling glycolytic pathways with fucking bacon, which is just moronic now looking back on it and wondering why everyone felt like shit all the time. There's many times now looking back on it, now that I just know so much more, where after a workout, I would be like just dizzy, wouldn't be able to get off the ground, just laying there feeling awful for like 30 minutes. I would just be laying there hypoglycemic and had no idea, and like that was normal back then, but no one really knew. So anyway, kind of started like I read one of the first Renaissance periodization books, like the original like RP diet book in like 2013. I read that and I was like, holy shit, like this is different, and then I forget, someone linked me to like one of the original like Lyle McDonald books, which like is like original flexible dieting one from like 2005. So I read that and I just like started bouncing around and reading a little bit more. And then that led me to get my precision nutrition level 1. So I did that just to, again, had time on my hands, was interested. And at the time I had a good friend who started a nutrition coaching business in the CrossFit space. And I helped her do her website and like set up her email domains and all of that stuff, because I worked in the software and tech field. And then she had a client who was a very, very high profile CrossFit athlete. At the time had like 800,000 Instagram followers, and posted about her one day. And over a 48-hour period, 500 coaching applications came into her. And she called me crying. It's like, can you help me? I don't know what to do. So I basically like wrote a script to like parse her email attachments into like Google spreadsheets so that we could kind of like classify who might be a realistic client. We classified clients into like a yes tier, a no tier, and like a middle tier sort of thing. And then started meeting with her weekly. And as I'm reading through a lot of these applications in this spreadsheet, I had this kind of false thought that because I was so into CrossFit and after that injury, like started learning about nutrition and stuff, that people who were super into it, kind of knew about nutrition as well. And that was not the case. And at the time I had been growing like disheartened with my software career and feeling like, man, I don't know if this is it for like the next 30 years sort of thing. And my initial thought was like, I'm going to write training programs. I'm going to get into like the training side of things. But I was a member at Brian Borstein's gym, right? And I was like, well, no one was going to come to me for training. Like, Brian's right here. Brian knows so much more than me. Like, why would anyone come to me? And then I kind of just had this realization that outside of like bodybuilding prep, there were no kind of males in the nutrition space, especially in the CrossFit. From my standpoint, there was some women that I knew doing it, but there was just, if you were like bodybuilding prep for males, or there's pretty much nothing else. So I just kind of saw an opportunity for myself in a space that wasn't really big yet, and that's kind of why I decided to go into nutrition.
Now, as you've transitioned more into being like into hypertrophy, do you notice like do you get a lot of the nutrition stuff that you were lacking in the CrossFit space that you see in the hypertrophy space now? Like, is there more of that crossover for you as far as like where that comes together?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So like you were saying, bodybuilding nutrition is huge, and in the CrossFit world, it was not talked about whatsoever. So now that your training has ironically become more hypertrophy focused now, like you're not doing as much CrossFit stuff. Do you find it's easier to connect with the people, like your clients, to start getting them to do more of that? Like, is there more of that crossover with the training, or?
No, I would say like, I mean, things are different now in 2023 than they were in like 2017, majority of clients now come to me and they're like, I just want to look better, like I want to look like you look, or something like that. So I'm like, okay, what's your training look like? We're going to optimize that. Like, and I'll tell people, like, if the goal is physique, we should be following hypertrophy training, right? Like, in the beginning, there's obviously positive correlations with strength and hypertrophy up to a certain point. And then after a point, they do begin to diverge in chasing optimality in either. Or if someone's like doing a lot of CrossFit, I might try and push them to like, we'll do 3 days of CrossFit, and then we'll have like an additional upper lower day or something like that, just to put additional training volume into some of those areas that you typically lack, in CrossFit, which is biceps, lateral delts, training the quads at a shortened position, taking advantage of the movement patterns that you just don't really do with just a barbell.
Right. And I'm assuming because you just did the N1 thing within the last couple of years, right? I think I was listening to your podcast. It was 2 years ago.
Yeah, just about 2 years ago, actually, a little bit under 2 years ago.
And how much has that changed like your sense of training and programming for not only you, but like your clients and stuff?
Man, I feel like Cass and N1, they kind of get a bad rap because it's like drinking from a fire hose, right? And then it gets distilled down into like the pull around, and people are like, this is fucking stupid, but it's like, that's one small little subset of everything that you will learn, And I would say the biggest thing that I took away from like N1 is just it's okay to be creative, right? Know what you want to, like, know what the end goal is, and then go play around and find ways to get to that end goal, so that was one of the biggest things that I took away from my time at the N1 camp. But then also just like pairing, like exercise selection and stuff, like really understanding short range overloaded things, lengthened overloaded things, like mid range, and then pairing things. That was like a whole new world once I could really wrap my head around things. And then when you see, or if like someone's like, oh, well, this is the program that I'm following, and you see things and someone's like leg days, like hack squat, leg press, barbell back squat, like front squat. I'm like, this is dog shit, like this is literally just throwing things together.
Yeah.
There's zero intelligent design in it. And I would say like that, it was very, very paramount, or just like it pushed me into a new like sector of the fitness space where you're getting more intelligent conversation. And I really do think to be a very, very good and effective coach, You know, you have to eventually branch out of just the gen pop, like bent over row, squat, overhead press sort of thing.
The whole like push pull squat days or back and by days or chest and try days. Like you see a lot of that, I'm sure, and just using
Well,
a better template.
And a better template, that's the way to put it. Like you can still have the same split, but like a more intelligent design.
Right.
And then like I've been spending more time on like YouTube, which I'm enjoying, except for like the comments section, I would say. And you get a lot of people like, this is bullshit. All you need is heavy presses. And then like, and that's all you need. And you like click on the person's profile and it's some dude who's 30% body fat who has like the amount of muscle of like a high school junior. And you're like, dude, you fucking know nothing. Like, shut up. Stop it. And I think it's like it doesn't matter until it does, right? Like, so I just recently started a very, very novice client. We're not doing pull arounds and like sissy squats and all these things. I'm like, you need to learn how to orient your body and produce force. So we're doing like chest supported, barbell row. We're doing really basic things because those are going to be still incredibly effective. You just need to learn how to, use your body and produce force. And then eventually those things become more nuanced as you kind of climb those rungs of, your hypertrophic journey of your, whatever your training years. But eventually you reach somewhere where like that context starts to become important as you get imbalances and different things like that.
Do you think people get too antsy to try to get in the nuanced stuff, or they haven't earned really a right to be able to be that nuanced yet? Like, I know what you're talking about. If you build a really good foundation, there's going to come a point in time where you may need some of these crazy different things to grow whatever it is you're trying to grow, or to try to get the force production you're looking for, different things like that. Because like I help college kids and I've heard them say numerous times, well, I'm an intermediate lifter. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like intermediate's like 7+ years of lifting, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And I think people have this skewed perception from maybe their ego that doesn't allow them to see where they're actually at on this spectrum.
Yeah, it's hard because it's hard to define, and I would say it's what I would say is like it once you have a good amount of muscle mass, right? And how do we define like a good amount? Like once you have a physique that it's quite obvious, like you're training, and you have been a little bit, maybe that's let's say, skin and bones when you started or whatever, you're like 140 pounds, right? And now you're at like 170. Okay, I'm pretty impressed with that, right? Like you've obviously been consistent enough for at least probably 2 years, to get there. And the hard thing is it's everyone's trajectory is not the same. Like some people are just going to they start lifting and things just make sense. And you're like, hey, contract your back here. And they're like, okay. And you're like, oh, holy shit, yeah, that's great. Other people, they're like 9 years in and I'm like, hey, contract your back here. And like, they can't even get close, So it really is hard. It's going to depend like person to person, but I don't know. I don't know. It's just, it won't matter until it does. And it's hard to put a time frame on it because everyone's going to be different. But I would say probably how much time you invest into it, how interested you are in it overall plays a very, very significant role in the rate of how quickly or slow that goes.
You gotta stay out of those YouTube comments. That's a place people go to die for sure. that's social media graveyard right there. There's some interesting cats.
Oh, they're the best though. I follow so many strong chicks and they post the YouTube comments that they get and I'm just like, holy fucking shit. Like these people are so stupid.
Everyone knows everything on YouTube. Everyone's
that's like the part I would like I think they don't understand is like, oh, I've been lifting for a couple, like you've been lifting for a couple of years. I don't think you know anything. Like I've been lifting for 13 years without taking more than a week off. And I just feel like I'm now getting the understanding of what the fuck's going on.
I would say I started when I would say like honestly like 15. There was some like dabbling and fucking around, but it was like after basketball season of my freshman year is when I really started taking it seriously. I would say it wasn't until I was in like when I was like 30, 31, where I felt like I felt confident in my opinion that it was actually correct and not just my opinion, you know. And then even from that, from 31 to 35, like I've like 10x'd what I know.
Yeah. Yeah. You said something earlier that kind of stuck with me a little bit about the consistency and the monotony of what you're doing when you eat. What do you tell? I hear people all the time. They say, "Oh, I'm tired of eating the same thing. I'm tired of eating this. I want to change up my diet." What really the consistency is what gets you the results. So how do you keep people on track when that monotony kind of sets in with their food?
Well, I think it's relative to the goal, right? And their ambition. So let's say I have a client that we're like, you know, we're actually using a meal plan with, and they're like, hey, I'm getting kind of bored of the monotony. I'm like, oh, okay, what specifically, right? It's just something I'm very, very big on. Like, I need specifics, and they're like, you know, I'm just really sick of the chicken and potato with lunch. I'm like, okay, what about turkey? Do you want to do a ground turkey? They're like, no, I'm not. I'm like, okay, we can do like a tuna steak. How about that? I'm like, yeah, I would like that. I'm like, okay, we're gonna do a tuna steak, and then instead of that potato, like we're gonna bring in quinoa. How does that sound? I'm like, okay. I'm like, great. You know what I mean? And I think it's like there's as long as we're getting our macros, you know, and our quantities very, very similar, there are few foods that are like you may need in certain contexts, right? Like salmon comes to mind there, where there's like, hey, can I replace the salmon with, I don't know, chicken? And I'm like, well, we want to get these omega-3 fats from the salmon. We want to get an extra fats. Like, no, that's not a good swap. But those are much less, you know, infrequent sort of situations. And again, it's relative to progress, right? Typically, people are like, oh, I'm really sick of this. They haven't made much progress, right? The client who's averaging, you know, 2.2 pounds of fat loss week over week, and we're in like week 7, they're not like, Aaron, I'm really sick of this chicken breast. No, they're fucking stoked because it's been 7 weeks and we're down 15 pounds on average. Right.
Yeah.
So I think it really depends. Everything comes back to results, right? Because that's why clients come to us. And typically when if someone isn't seeing results, like maybe we're really, really new to the protocol. I still haven't figured some things out yet, right? I'm not this, you know, all-knowing being sort of thing, or where there's a misunderstanding somewhere, right? And it might be like, hey, we're on the plan Monday through Thursday, and then we get these like 3-pound weight swings into Friday and Saturday, and then our average is essentially not moving anywhere, sort of thing. And they think it's their Tuesday lunch and that is the problem, sort of thing. So
What do
I
you?
totally
Oh, go ahead.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead, Alex.
I was gonna say I can relate to the results thing, Aaron. I've been on a slight cut since July, and I'm an addict, so food for me is like I fucking want it all the time. And yesterday I looked in the mirror and I go, "Oh, this is why I do this." And it's literally, and people don't get it. Like, how do you eat the same thing all the time? I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? It's easy. I don't have to make any decisions. My decision making is much easier. I just fucking eat it and I get it done.
The thing when I get that question, in, you know, in full transparency, I don't honestly know if this is the best answer. Or food is my profession, you know, and in the same way that, like, not that I'm comparing myself to an NBA player, but the dude, I know, Alex, you're in Colorado. Who just won didn't the Nuggets just win the title last year?
Yeah.
And who's that dude? Luka?
Luca plays for the Mavericks, but yeah. You talking about Jokic?
The Joker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Whoever like won the MVP, and they're like interviewing him, like, isn't this like the best day of your life? And he was like, this is a job. You know, he's like, I just want to go see my family. Like, yes, I like playing basketball, but this is my job.
Right.
The same way where people are like, how do you? I'm like, it's my job. You know, I've mentally compartmentalized that food is transactional for me, in that I fuel myself. It allows me to feel good in terms of how I perform, how my body feels, how my body looks, those sorts of things. But I derive very little pleasure from intaking food, because it's my job.
Yeah.
And I know in some point in the future, when I have a family and different things like that, like there may be things that I need to work back because I have let's call it a much less disastrous form of disordered eating around it. It's just wrapped up into quantification sort of things because that is how I make my living. But that's how I do it. And it's just like over time, I've just begun to not care.
Yeah.
I'm very goal oriented, you know, and I will say as long as I have goals that are directly mediated by my dietary decisions, it's very easy to stick to those. But if I'm ever get to the point where I'm like 45 and I'm like, hey, I'm going to just live at 15% body fat now and just be happy with my family and shit. Like, yeah, I don't need to track food, and I can eat different things, and auto regulation at 15% body fat is very straightforward and achievable.
Right.
Once you have those actions, but I'll kind of cross that bridge when I get there, I suppose.
What are some realistic weight loss what's some realistic weight loss that people should expect weekly? Like a lot of people are like, they get panicky because they don't see the weight just absolutely flying off. But like, what's a good, healthy amount of weight loss in terms of like poundage per week that people can experience? Or kind of what do you shoot for? And like, what do you try to tell people to be realistic about?
Yeah, 0.5% to 1% of total body mass per week. So if you are a 200 pounds, right? If you're 200 pounds, that looks like 1 to 2 pounds per week, right? 0.5% on the low end, I would say, is much more realistic for the majority of clients, right? Netting that 1% average, which at that 200-pound rate is going to be 2 pounds per week on average. Obviously, once you're in week 7 and week 8, that 2 pounds is no longer 2 pounds. It becomes like, 1.9, 1.8, those sorts of things, because it's a relative percentage. But 1% is damn good progress. Now, in that first week, you might see like double that because you're dumping glycogen and some inflammation and those sorts of things. But if over a 12, 15, or 12, 16, 20 week period, like if you're averaging 0.5%, that's a pretty damn good job. And I've found that on average, once a client gets to 10% reduction in total body mass, so let's assume we're netting that 0.5% figure week over week to get to 10%, double that, that's 20 weeks, exactly about 5 months of dieting. That's about where most people are pleased with their results and may not see the benefit in continuing to get leaner. Now let's see if I can do my math there. Using that same 200-pound person, 10% will be 20 pounds if I'm not mistaken. So that would take you from 200 pound, to 180 pounds.
That what you said right there, people kind of see the results and then they kind of either say they're good or they just kind of phone it in. Do you see a lot of clients that just like stop using your service at that point? Or they're like, oh, I met my goal, I'm good to go. And then they kind of like fall off the wagon and then they stop doing the habits that got them there. Does that happen a lot with your line of work?
I wouldn't say it happens a lot because I'm very, very vocal and transparent about what needs to happen, especially as we start getting past, like, let's say that same example, once we get to like the 185 and I reconnect, I'll recheck in. I'm like, hey, this was the initial goal. Like, what are we thinking? Do we get to 180 and evaluate? Maybe we want to go for like 175. I just put the ball in their court. But when we're essentially sunsetting a fat loss phase or whatever, I'm very vocal and say like, you are now a 180-pound version of yourself. The 180-pound version of yourself needs to habitually make different decisions in the same circumstances that the 200-pound version of yourself, experienced. If you revert to those sort of, decision-making tree and habits, you will over time turn into the 200-pound version of yourself again. Like, 180-pound version of yourself needs to make new decisions in those same circumstances.
Right. Yeah, that's tough for people. They just think that's like, oh, I got here, now I'm done. Like I don't have to do any more work. And it's like, well.
Well, I frame it up as is like going somewhere new is significantly harder and requires much more effort than staying somewhere once you are there, because you have auto regulation, right? you have a weekend where, you're out and you have some extra calories, those sorts of things. Monday comes, we lock it back in, we prep food for the week sort of thing. And you're going to have some overages, some unders, and then fortunately you need a pretty decent deviation to put on, let's say like 3 pounds in either to put on or lose like 3 pounds in either direction of actual tissue change and not glycogen and inflammation. You can kind of catch it and auto regulate sort of thing, but it's definitely something that it needs to be approached with the conversation, or people revert and fall apart,
Right.
rather quickly, 12,
Right.
16 weeks sort of thing.
Do you oh, go ahead, X. Go ahead.
How many of your clients are like performance based or even like want to build mass as opposed to losing body fat?
It's often that clients, we will end up going through like multiple phases, but in terms of when we start, I would say like 80% fat loss, maybe 20% muscle building. One thing that I will say though is I've recently been getting some like females who want to come in and start, and they want to go in like a gain phase. Like that's what we start with. I have a couple right now, and it's fun. It's fun and it's different. I feel like the tides are starting to shift, and especially with women who are older and those sorts of things. Like the two that come to my mind, they're both in their 40s, and like we're just on the gain train, training really hard, pushing food, and it has been cool just to see just the shift in the tides of some of the mindsets and stuff there.
Do you see a lot of clients that come to you that are actually inadequately eating or just overeating too much? Do you have like kind of a balance of both, or what do you see more of in that fashion?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, and this is a term that I'm taking directly from Jeremiah Bear, who's a coach who has a pretty cool coaching team called Elevated Coaching Systems, I believe. I might have botched the last two parts there, but he uses a term called some people, they're under fueling themselves. They're obviously not under consuming calories, because then they would be in, fat loss and these sorts of things. But you have people who like, they eat air in salad like Monday through Thursday, and then it's like wine and dinners and these sorts of things that are obviously our weekly average is in a surplus, but they're not fueling themselves. So they're overeating but under fueling, and I really, really like that kind of frame of it. And that one I get sometimes, right? People, another thing I see is people just will have like, obviously skip breakfast, right? Lunch is a salad, and then we have 180 grams of carbs with dinner in like a snack or post dinner sort of thing. I'm like, okay, well, we're going to redistribute your extremely imbalanced, distribution of your calories and carbohydrate through the day, and you'll probably get better training sessions, and and all of these things. So there's definitely some of that. But one thing I've started doing is when someone comes to me with some more numbers, and like, 20, especially if I think the numbers aren't accurate. And sometimes I eat my words on this. I have done, there's a couple people that come to mind over the past few months where I have been wrong. They're like, oh, I'm maintaining on, 2,400. And I'm like, I don't really think that's the case. So I'll like build them a very straightforward plan at 2,400 calories. I'm like, okay, we're going to follow this for 14 days and we're going to see what happens. And then most times when I'm right, what we see over those 14 days is this, weight just like chunking down. I'm like, okay, 2,400 calories is not maintenance. Like you think you're eating 2,400 calories like most days, and then you don't track on the weekends and those sorts of things, and they're obviously significantly higher.
Yeah, like getting people to track and getting people to understand that they need more calories for performance can be a hard conversation too, because people that have bad association with food and diets already, and then you show them their calorie counts, you're like, this is what you have to do. I know it seems like a lot of food. How do you get people to kind of buy in to understand, like, you got to eat more when you need when you need it for performance? If you're going to be at the gym 5 times a week, we need you to eat. We need you to eat.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say when people have legitimate fears of it, I meet them where they are, right? And I'm very, very objective, and I use that with my clientele, and we use my tracking system and reporting spreadsheet that has all the, all the data right there for us. And I might meet them very close to where they are, and I'm like, okay, but instead I want like, this 25 grams of carbs, 90 minutes before training, sort of thing. And we'll keep your training pretty much what you're doing, and then we collect some data. We see that weight's not increasing, right? Training improves a little bit, and then like things look decent. Like, okay, next week we're going to add, maybe 15 on the back end of training, right? And over that we're up, it's 100 calories. Another 15 we're up like about 100, 160, 170 calories there. It's only 14 days in. We kind of just start working things up, and body weight's not really changing much. Our average is within a pound, pound and a half, and you just kind of like win some trust by showing them, sort of thing, instead of me trying to say, you're under eating or you're under fueling yourself, whether I think that that's true or not. Me saying, your opinion's wrong. We know, from a political standpoint and stuff, like how that fucking works, like it doesn't. So instead I'm like, okay, I understand your concerns and stuff. I'll meet you where you are. We'll make some slight modifications, and then we get buy-in over repeated kind of victories in experiences, seeing that things are not drastically falling apart and your weight's not skyrocketing, and you're getting like better training sessions and better pumps and all of these things. So
The sheet is huge. Yeah, the sheet is huge because you can kind of show them, and like you said, a lot of them they're not going to get those calories anyway because it's not realistic, because a lot of people are inadequately eating. And so it's like you said, if you can just start to make little, like, hey, let's pick up 150 here. Hey, let's pick up this many grams of protein this week or these days. That's such a huge conversation starter. And to see it on the sheet, I think gives you even more buy-in for those people. Have you experienced, I mean, you have clearly, but those are really big wins for clients, I think, to kind of see, oh, okay, this is working and this is the right way to approach this.
Yeah, the numbers just don't lie, and it really is as straightforward as it is.
Alex,
I'll go ahead and do the shameless plug for Aaron. You guys need to just go buy his tracking sheet, and
Yes.
He has like diet. He has even other shit that I haven't bought yet that looks really awesome. That'll help you lose weight or gain weight. So this guy's a fucking whiz when it comes to making nutrition super easy. So
yes, the sheet's phenomenal. I love the sheet. I use it with my clients, and Alex showed it to me. He's like, hey, you got to go buy this. And I was like, yeah, now I see why I have to buy this, because like I said, it just makes those conversations so much better when I can have all that data in front of me that people are using.
I show people that thing and they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I want to go, yeah, I didn't do any of this. I just paid you. Like, I didn't fucking come up with this. It's incredible, but it's not me. So
yeah, it just you don't have to be the bad guy, because you're like, listen, I don't want to, I hate to have to share this, but like here, here's the numbers. This is what it says. This is the, like that 0.5% to 1% thing that we were talking about with the rate of loss. Like I have a fat loss model that is literally just like verbatim built from that. There was a research paper in like 2018, 2019 from Alan Aragon and Eric Helms, where they basically ran a bunch of information and stuff from natural bodybuilders to come up with like rates of gain and rates of loss and stuff. And I literally just took that and referenced it in the model, and I just put it into Google Sheets and ran math on it. And I'm like, here, when you say, hey, when that person says, hey, my wedding's in 6 weeks, I need to lose 40 pounds. I like show up the model. I'm like, listen, it's not gonna fucking happen. Like, unless you're David Goggins, it's not gonna fucking happen.
Yeah, oh man, I like it too, because I'm like, yeah, see, the sheet's telling you have to eat this. It's not me. I'm not telling you this. I just put your numbers in.
The weekly averages too, because when you show them all the data, like I've gotten to the point where I just have people like track and chronometer, and I'll fill out the sheet for them so I can reference it. And when they don't track and chronometer and I show them all the missing data, I'm like, what do you want me to do with this? They're like, oh, or they like look at the averages, and now all of a sudden the averages are terrible because they weighed in twice in 1 week. I'm like, like, what are we doing here? I'm like, data
Yeah.
is the only way we're going to make any positive changes or create the habits or no. And then like the other thing I think is cool about the sheet or any of the tracking is it seems like for me anyways, whatever I do doesn't reflect in those numbers until like 24 to 48 hours after the fact. Right. Like if I have a high calorie day, it may not be the next day, but the second day, now all of a sudden the scale is moved. And I'm like, what the fuck happened here? And it just kind
Yeah.
of gives you more level headedness of like, oh, okay, this is what's going on.
Yeah. My favorite there is I there was a version of the sheet that had graphs in it. I
I have
don't
that
think the
one.
most recent one does anymore. Or I just found I wasn't using them very much. But there was this one time I remember, this is actually a couple times. There was like the we were mostly moving down on the graph, but there was these spikes, these very consistent like cyclical spikes. And I remember like after like the seventh or eighth one in the check-in, I was like, what do you think these spikes are? And like, I don't know. What do you think? I'm like, they're all Mondays. And they was like, oh, I was like, yeah, yeah. So like when you're getting frustrated about you thought you'd be moving faster, like you're sabotaging it with your Sundays and your Saturday nights. And that one was just like, so like a lot of times it just seeing is believing with many things, right? And when you see, you're like, okay, this is what I have consistently done over the past 7 weeks. Like it's human nature, right? It's not like, I'd be any different or anything like that. It's just like we like to justify things to ourselves to make it appear and seem like we're doing better than we are and that we're trying harder than we are, right? And when you see some of these things that are there, it's all your data, right? That you're inputting and that sort of thing. Like it can just be when you see it changes that perception or that your thought that your effort was falsely higher than it actually is or had been.
Yeah.
Um, when you prescribe somebody or like when you're setting the example of eating the same stuff since January 1st till now, right? What do you do with the people that are like, well, that's not good for you. You're not going to get X, Y, or Z. You just go, look, lady, I design all of it to get everything I need so then I don't have to worry about it. Or how do you combat like naysayers like that?
Yeah, and like for what it's worth, I will not have a client do what I'm doing
Sure.
necessarily, right? I am, I have this big year-long goal with my coach, which is the culmination of me lifting weights for 20 years now, and I want to find like what I can do at 35 years old if I gave 1 year everything. The hardest training, the most time dedicated to recovery, like everything. That's what the goal is. So that's why I'm as rigid and strict as I have been, because I have this grand lofty goal. So if someone was like, that's restrictive, I'm like, yeah, it is, because I have this really big fucking goal. And then after I achieve that, it's not going to be that way anymore. It's still going to be, probably, I wouldn't call it restrictive, but rigid, because it's just easy. It's brainless for me. I have people, I'm fortunate that here in Bali, I've met friends that have opened restaurants that solve my food problems for me. And then I just give them money and they just deliver the food that I need in the quantities that I need it, right? It's beautiful. So I can just spend my time working and doing things, not worrying about cooking my own food and shit. But when people say that, like I would say, like, it can be, but it's all relative to the goal and the reasons why, right? Like people that say it is restrictive, but I mean, I'm dieting on 2,800 calories, right? I'm still eating a grip of fucking food. So
Yeah, you're not starving yourself. You're just eating what you have to eat to get there. It's no McChickens for you.
Hey, speak for yourself. 2,800 calories to me feels like a fucking, I feel like I'm in torture zone. Like I just want to eat all the goddamn time. So here's a question. I've been at like 26 to 2,800 calories and like every few weeks, I will just be fucking ravenously hungry. And I find myself, I fuck up and binge eat bad shit because like it'll be after a heavy training day. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I'll wake up, like I'll fall asleep and I will wake up just fucking hungry. Like, is that to
In
be
the middle of the
expected when
night.
you're in a calorie deficit?
I mean, what it sounds like you may benefit from is like just a strategic higher calorie day. I would push carbohydrate relative to either protein or fat, but on maybe those leg days or something like that. Or if you're waking up in the middle of the night like hungry, or waking up at like that 3 a.m. thing, like it's a pretty cut and dry stress response, like an acute elevated stress response thing. Adding some fruit before dinner or adding some fruit before bed is a decent way to combat that. But yeah, you might need to start bringing in like periodic higher foods days. Like we're doing that with me. And everyone, once you get like decently lean enough, let's call it like 15% or so, you may start to have some of these physiologic things that start to happen. Like I will notice things will be great, and then I'll just like have like a very nasty performance drop off and have like a god awful gym session. And if I push too long, if I like try and mentally push through it, and it's like, oh, I just need to try harder and those sorts of things, I'll kind of burn out within like 72 hours and my weight just starts cratering. And we've found this happen like 3 times. And now we know like, okay, I'm lean enough at this point, and with the training intensity and stuff, we need to start doing more frequent refeeds to prevent that from happening, because it happens really, really quickly with me personally. So I think it's like you learn about your body and stuff, and everyone's going to be a little bit different. Everyone internalizes the same objective stress load differently. Some people they'll be chill as shit. Other people will fucking fall apart, and it might be an identical stress situation. So a lot of those things are very, very individualistic, and just learning about yourself is vastly, what's the word I want to use? Valuable in that.
Yeah, you make a good point. I was having higher carb days. I was cycling carb days before, and I did not have this happen as frequently. When I just decided to cut an extra couple pounds, lower the calories by like 100 or like 150 maybe, now all of a sudden it was like, well, it was a deadlift day too, so that fucks me up.
Yeah, higher systemic fatigue there.
Well, yeah, and I'm an idiot and do IRM accessory stuff on top of it. So like the amount my body is just wanting nutrients on those days is it's pretty bad.
Yeah, sounds like maybe someone needs to save you from yourself.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, you can always tell what kind of day he's having if you text him, and the response that he gives you is usually like, oh, okay, well, Alex hasn't eaten anything today, so we're going to give him a couple hours and come back to him when he's calmed down a little bit. But
anger is a real thing, okay, guys? I am the Snickers commercial.
Just go look at his Instagram stories. You'll see all the wonderful steaks he's putting on there now, though.
Oh, fucking dude, it's the best thing ever. What do you tell people that say red meat is bad?
I would say, like, in relative to what?
It causes heart problems, allegedly.
I mean, I think if your saturated fat intake is so sky high, I think there could be truth to that within reason. I'm not really going to have much issue with it, but I mean, I get some people who are like, oh, I'm carnivore, and I'm like, okay, sick. Let's look at your lipids and stuff, and they're not great. They're what you would expect. But it all needs to be relative, and I think the hard thing is you get the camps, right? And you get the nutrition camps, and for some reason they're always at like the extreme end ranges. You know what I mean? And I'm like, you can still have, red meat multiple times per week. But like, how about we go with like a top sirloin instead of only eating like ribeyes that you're then putting 2 tablespoons of butter on and stuff like that. Like let's meet in the middle a little bit. Add some vegetables. Like maybe let's increase your carbohydrates. I know Joe Rogan told you that carbs are the devil, but like your lipids are very bad. We probably don't need as much butter. Like let's just kind of pull back from the extremes and just get into a more moderate approach where most people find they do best.
I was going to ask, I've seen a lot of this trend happening recently about like weight loss surgeries and things like that. And people that have now altered themselves to where their diets are incredibly restrictive when it comes to calorie counts. Do you work with anyone, or have you worked with anyone that has gone through this procedure, or do you just say no thank you and move on in a consultation and just like, I'm not going to be able to adequately serve you in what you need to meet now that you've done something like this?
I don't think you're talking about like the lap band, right? Where someone gets their like stomach,
Yeah.
surgically
Yep.
shrunk. I don't think I've ever had anyone who's had that procedure reach out to me.
Right. It's just,
Nathan, he's really good at marketing, and he gets his ideal customers.
Yeah,
He doesn't worry.
I was just curious.
His customers will track people, will track things. Like, he does all the good stuff. This is where, like, Aaron, you have another thing you do that's your upgrade thing. That's coaching other coaches, right?
Yeah, it's like a mentorship. It's like a course mentorship program for other coaches. But the kind of the sweet spot there is like it's by myself and Jackson Pias. But in the kickers, we give you all the tools that we run our businesses with. So like the check-in system, the fat loss and muscle gain models, like how I manage my client roster and know how much money I'm bringing in, like how I take my notes and all that stuff, like all my onboarding stuff, like it's all turnkey for the coaches as well. So we're teaching you about like, these are the things that you need to run a professional business, and here are all the tools that we use to run ours.
If you make a course on that, I'll sign up really quickly. I'll throw you all my money, because it seems to be a trend around here where I'm from. So
he has it. It's like a mastermind.
No, I mean the one with the surgery thing, the weight loss surgery seems to be a huge trend around here. And I'm just like, I'm just sick of these people coming through my door. Like, I don't know how to help you. Go away.
Yeah, it's hard. I think like those, what's funny is the proverbial like best clients, right? And those are the ones that come to you and they're like, Aaron, I want to put on 10 pounds of muscle. And I'm like, and I'm, 23. And I'm like, this is literally the easiest fucking coaching client in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, dude, sick. Let's do it. But you don't get much like satisfaction out of that. It's and I've been fortunate. I've had a couple where we've had like big, weight loss sort of things where their lives drastically improve. And those are the ones that I'll always remember, the ones that we failed and for whatever circumstance, we stopped coaching together. Like those are the ones that I think about randomly on like a Tuesday, sort of thing, because I'm concerned of where their lives are at and that sort of thing. So I think the people who need it the most, right, are obviously the hardest clients, but they're also like the most rewarding. But oftentimes it's like people just it's reflective of our Western and Americanized sort of society. Oh, you're 300 pounds and need to lose weight, we'll do this $10,000 surgery on you, and then you're just out of $10,000 and you don't have any fucking habits or anything, and it works in the short term until your stomach just stretches out again.
Yeah. I
do. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, living in a different country, do you feel less out of place because you are healthy and you do all these things to stay fit, as opposed to like here in America? I live in Boulder, even, where it's super fit allegedly, and yet I'm the fucking outcast because I don't want to drink. Right? Like, I will go and hang out with people and they'll be like, "Oh, you don't drink? Did you get a DUI?" And I'm like, "What?" Like, no, I just don't drink. Like, what? Why is that so hard to understand?
I mean, the beauty in Bali is you get a lot of the fitness minded people, and that people who are just a little bit more like counterculture-esque, and I would say, and honestly, that was my favorite thing about it, and what ultimately like brought me back here. It's so easy to live the life that I want to live, right? Like there's pretty decent gyms, but the gyms also have like sauna, hot tub, like recovery stuff is prioritized. You can go anywhere around here and get like, for breakfast, sourdough, couple eggs, fruit. Like you can eat so well everywhere. There's the barrier to entry is so easy there. You meet people from all over the world who are, fitness and nutrition coaches and different things like that. It's just like a very conducive environment for living a healthy lifestyle. So that is a was a big draw and part of the reason I really enjoy it here. The locals are notoriously friendly. They're the nicest people on earth, which obviously helps. With that, I would say leaving the States and leaving my friends and stuff like that when I moved away from San Diego, it helped me really find who I was and what I valued most, because I was someone where like in those times I would kind of like, maybe I was past like the true partying phase of my life, but I would kind of get like sucked into like having a couple beers, even though I didn't really want to or something like that. But it took spending that time away. But now I'm like so confident in what's important to me and stuff. If we're like, oh, hey, you know, I have a girlfriend who I've been with for a long time, who's wonderful. And she's like, oh, we're getting together with like so-and-so. We're going to like, I don't know, the Spanish tapas place. I'm like, yeah, I'm not fucking going because I don't like that shit and I'm not doing it. You know, like I'm confident in who I am and something, nothing, there's few things I hate more than when someone's like, oh, I'll order for the table. And we just like pick and choose at shit. Like, no, I'm 35 years old. I don't fucking want that. I'm ordering my own meal or I'm not coming, you know? And I'm very confident in saying that now. And then I think that's really helped me. But I did struggle for, you know, a very number of years of like kind of going with the flow in the crowd and it ate me alive inside.
It's probably why you're obviously as successful as you are. You just go the other way. Seems to be a trend with people we talk to. It's like they go against the grain of what's culturally popular or whatnot. So kudos to you for knowing who you are.
Yeah. And similarly to what you said, Alex, it'll be 4 years soon. I quit drinking as well. And I don't know, just didn't add value to my life anymore. And like my girlfriend still does, you know, periodically and stuff. And there's zero problems with that. And it's just like, I'm good. You know, I was never a social drinker. I liked to party with my friends. And then once friends started having like families and everything like that, and the parties were no more, I was like, I really don't have a use for alcohol anymore. And it was a very easy thing. And it was great. I loved my years drinking, and now I just don't anymore. And I'm very, you know, fine saying that to people.
With clients who are trying to be successful, how much does their partner affect their success?
It's a massive amount. It's so much so that on my client, on like my inquiry form, I ask like, you know, is your partner aware that you're submitting this application? What is his or her, you know, involvement or enrollment in this? Like what, you know, I ask out the gate, because it's massive. You know, if you have someone who's like, oh, well, my wife or my husband makes dinner and that's outside my control, I'm like, that is going to directly impact our success, you know? And I want to know about it, because if dinner's just a crapshoot, right? There's things that we can try to do, you know, to kind of make things better. But if someone's like very early on in their journey and we are very far from our goal, like let's talk, we have a male, 30s, 5'11", he's like 260 pounds. I'm like, yeah, let your wife make dinner. We can stack enough wins away from dinner to get the ball moving and get things moving in the direction we need to. But once you start getting close to that goal, or once you've already had, you know, a lot of success, like you need to start looking to other parts of the day to make up those extra margins as those margins for success continue to close. And it's just, it plays a big role, even just from desires and temptations and stuff. If someone else does the food shopping and they're just putting, you know, Chips Ahoy and cookies and shit on the counter, and you're walking past that counter, like, don't get me wrong, like I have pretty good willpower, but I'm not going to walk past a counter like 19 times with fucking cookies sitting out. I might do it like 3 times and then I'll have a cookie. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have great willpower. I just don't ever put myself in situations where I need to use it.
That's like one of the best tips you can give somebody, right? Is don't buy the shit in the first place. Like,
yeah.
So my wife's always like, you want me to buy those chips that you I'm like, no, don't bring them in this house. They'll be gone within 10 minutes. Stop. You know
what I run
into
is anytime I date somebody, their way of like showing me affection is to like buy me treats. like ice cream, or because they, I think, see that I'm so restrictive most of the time. Like, Aaron, I've been eating chicken and rice for like the last 12 years of my fucking life. I think I've had at least one meal a day of chicken and rice because, well, it's works and it's easy. Like, I don't have to think about it. And I think they see that as like maybe I'm punishing myself or something. So then there's always fucking ice cream around, or there's always sweets around or something. And I'm like, guys, I get what you're trying to do here, but I'm a fucking addict. I don't need this shit around me. Like, I think about it enough as it is. I don't need to be like, oh, it's right there. I can just, and then it's never a little bit. It's always the whole fucking thing. It's never just
Yeah.
like, oh, let me have a bite.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't
What
know. I think my addictive personality also makes things a little bit more challenging than the normal person deals with, because that's fucking just a whole nother bag of worms.
what's your vice, Aaron, though? Like, what gets you? You said the cookie thing, but like, is there something that you're just like, oh, yes, I gotta have it?
Chipotle when he gets back to the States.
Yeah, there's like is when you there's things about the United States, that are as much as I mean, I've spent the majority of the past 5 years away, but look, when I get back, I'm like, I want that Chipotle, and I want to hit a gas station because I want to get some energy drinks. And it's like doesn't make any sense, but like there and then when I tell friends, like, some of my good friends here from Australia or different things, and they're like, oh, like one of them's like going to the States for the Olympia, and he's going to Florida, and I was like, all right, like it's there's gonna be, he's like, what should I do? I was like, you got to go to the big gas stations. And I was like,
Yes.
they're gonna have energy drinks from
Yes.
ceiling to floor, just like fridges of energy drinks.
I am so happy you said that. That is, I am the same way. I'm like, God, every time I go by a big gas station, I'm like, I'm going in there. I'm gonna see what they got. My wife's like, what is wrong with, like, that's my vice. I'm like, I love big gas stations. So I love that you said that. That's awesome.
Yeah, like there's certain things like coffee, I guess, that's one where I would wish that I could drink more, but I it really crushes me with sleep. Like I can have a coffee at like 11 and I still don't sleep good after that, like 11 a.m. In the past, like gummy bears would be one. Like I do really like gummy bears. I don't think I've had one in probably a year and a half. Um, I don't know. I guess, yeah, food wise,
Disciplined.
nothing really.
Man,
Yeah.
does the Chipotle fuck your stomach up? Because like I had it last week and it fit my macros perfectly, and I was like, oh, this is so awesome. And then my stomach was fucked up for like the next day. I was like, God damn it, Chipotle.
Typically no.
Gotta figure out what I'm getting
But
that's wrong then.
yeah. No, but I mean, I've been living in Southeast Asia, so I'm getting all the other bacterias over here, making my stomach stronger, but not
Right.
without paying the
You could
price.
just fight off everything.
Well, no, but
Oh man, that's awesome. How did you get to be so disciplined? Like at a young kid, like what was kind of like your raising like? Is that kind of what led you into that disciplined mindset, or how did you get to the level of discipline that you're at now?
I kind of don't really know. I would never say my discipline was like great. I always had interest in like, health and fitness and like, physique and that sort of thing. But I think it was just spending time away on my own, and like you'd be amazed at what happens or what you discover about yourself when you spend time when you're not near your friends, you're not near your family, and like your influences are pretty much completely removed, except for like Instagram, different things like that. You find different things about yourself, and I don't really know. It's kind of just over the past few years grown. Like my discipline in year one of my business wasn't what it is now, sort of thing. Um, but it's just kind of grown, I would say, or with the realization that the things that I want out of life are achievable. And now that I'm nearing those years where it's not just like Aaron, and he makes money with his nutrition coaching, it's like I'm going to support a family and have to do all of these things from a, like a character arc of really, really becoming a man, like that next phase. I think that it just put the pressure on me so much more. And that's probably what it really has been. Because I know, like, for example, this is something that I know is like very, very different with myself, was as like the more I work, the more consistent days I like stack together, like the better I get. Where people are like, I just need like 3 days away on the beach, like not doing anything, not training, not working. When I do that, it's so hard for me to get back to work in those sorts of things. So it's like those deviations don't like reinvigorate and refresh me. They like crush me. Because it's like now my willpower to get back into like doing check-ins and those sorts of things is so low. Whereas if I never deviate from it, like I'm at my operating capacity and I'm like a machine. But you turn the machine off for a couple days and I'm like, where's the fucking switch to turn it back on? I can't find it, sort of thing.
Well, it's like a momentum thing, right? Like once you get the ball rolling,
Exactly.
it's way easier to keep riding that wave than it is to stop. Like I'm the same way, but I think like what you're referring to, I often wonder like, are the people that need those things, do they just not enjoy everything that they do? Because like I'll hear people like Alex Ramosi talk about it, and they're like, if you enjoy working, then why wouldn't you just work? Like if it doesn't bother you, then why not do more of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably a bit of a slippery slope. Like there's times where like I like doing check-ins in that sort of thing, but I'm sure as you guys know, like it can be like emotionally kind of draining in those sorts of things. And just when you're doing like your 12th check-in of the day, it's not the same as when it's the first. Like you've spoken on a video for like 2.5 hours already on the day, and to keep your energy up and make sure that you're not kind of just shooing it in or half-assing that final check-in, like it does take its toll on you. Um, and I do enjoy it. And I think something that's been very, very beneficial for me, lately that I've been using is like, I chose this, right? There isn't some circumstance. I'm not, I've had a lot of shit jobs in my life, like one that I always refer back to is like, I worked in a warehouse, driving forklift, loading snack foods into tractor trailers. And it was great at the time. I was like 19 getting, paid pretty decent, but like, that fucking sucked. I was at work at like 5:45 in the morning and stuff, and that was brutal. And I'm like, dude, I sit in this office in Bali talking about lifting weights and eating food to people. That is a dream for me. So the times where I am like a little tired, I'm like, I got a lot of check-ins and stuff to do. Like my kind of beacon there is like, I chose this, right? No one put me in this position. I chose this. I get to do this. And that really does help me when I'm not feeling my best or something.
Yeah, the I get to do it thing is very powerful. Like when you start changing the framework from I have to do this to I get to do this, and especially like I find it with the nutrition thing, like, oh, I get to eat this, I get to enjoy this, I get to still do this and, get leaner at the same time. Like for me, getting leaner I've always been the fat kid. So getting lean has always been the goal, right? So getting bigger and fatter, super easy. I have no problems doing that. But getting lean, holy fuck, is a tedious task. And it's like yesterday when I looked in the mirror, I go, okay, this is what the last 4 months have been for. And it's like more because I compete in a weight class now. So I have to be a certain weight. But when you can see the physical part of it, it's like, okay, this makes it also worth it. It makes it more motivating at the same time. But
yeah, I would say there with a lot of people, especially with getting leaner, is in the beginning, it's a lot of like, I'm doing this diet for whatever reasons. And that means that like, I can't, drink freely anymore. I can't just go out to eat wherever I want. Like it's a lot of sacrificing. I can't do this anymore, but it takes commitment, which, excuse me, people don't have they haven't yet, they're only experiencing the negative of I can't do this. There's not yet the positive of this is all of the things that this now provides me, right? When people's like joints start feeling better, their energy levels improve. They're like, holy shit, look, my face looks different. And then they start to get those positives. That's where the shift really starts to change, is those things that you had to give up. Some of them, right, they're all going to be on varying scales because everyone's a little bit different. But some of them like, oh, I don't care about that anymore because I have this now, right? And a lot of times, like once you get people who they just feel so much better, it's a lot easier to be like, yeah, I don't care about that nightly glass of whiskey that I used to have 7 days a week now, because I'm much more happy with this now. But you have to break through that period of time where you don't have the positive yet. All you have is the negatives of the things that you have to temporarily remove.
I've always tried to tell people, if I could give you a pill for like how good you would feel when you ate right and worked hard in the gym, like it would be the hottest item on the fucking market because it feels great. But to get to that point takes a while, right? Like you don't realize how bad you feel until you start eating good. And then that takes, a few weeks of actually doing, and then you go, oh, holy shit, I was feeling terrible before. Like I remember when I first started 13 years ago when I started the chicken and rice thing, I'm like, I'm just going to do the bodybuilding thing. Like, fuck it. They're the leanest people in the world. They know how to get rid of body fat. I'm going to try this. And I did it and I got leaner and I started feeling better. And I go, oh shit, food is fuel. Like, this is not just a mouth pleasure. Like, we've been tricked into thinking it's a mouth pleasure and it's supposed to be all this other shit. But no, this is fuel for your brain, for your body, for all those other things. And then, like, I remember learning how much I needed to eat the first time when I was like 18. And this dude told me, he's like, well, what do you want to weigh? I was like, I'd like to be like 200 pounds and like, 10 to 15% body fat. And he fucking told me how much I needed to eat. And I went, what the fuck are you talking about? Now I can eat it no problem, but it's a process and a skill almost.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the final things that I'll say there that I think a lot of people still don't understand is like, obviously a calorie, target is a unit of energy. Typically, those are often correlated with volumes of food, but that is not an absolute, right? Like you can stretch, you can present 2,300 calories in a myriad of different ways, right? And in something like when in my intake form with clients or application, I'll ask, do you want to go with like a more meal plan route or a macro based approach? So if I get like if I have like a male who's, let's say, like north of like 185 in training, 4 or 5 times per week, I'll typically start people around like a 2,600 calorie and just see what happens. And if I'm getting reports that like someone's like, I'm really, really hungry, I don't, what's going on, I'm like, you are very poorly distributing that 2,600 calories, right? And obviously I'm giving them like their protein and their carbs and stuff. And I'm like, I can stretch 2,600 calories, to the fucking moon and back in terms of volume and satiety. And then you see, and it's like someone will have, they're having like a smoothie or a green juice or a beet juice. It's like 60 grams of carbs for a fucking 12-ounce drink. And I'm like, okay, right, we're making very poor decisions in terms of satiety. So that's like one thing too, is like calories again are a unit of energy. They're often correlative with satiety, but not a end all be all there.
It's funny you say that because for the next 4 weeks, my saving grace is going to be fucking potatoes. Like switching from rice to potatoes is going to make it so that my fat ass can feel like I'm eating a lot of food and not getting a lot of calories. And then when I go back to bulking, I'm going to switch back to those rice noodles because fuck me, are those like the best things ever.
Yep. Another one too, that especially because it's like, fall now, winter squash. The various winter squashes are a cheat code. Like delicata squash is my favorite. It's disgusting how much delicata squash you can eat for like 40 grams of carbs.
Wow.
Well, that's like watermelon in the summer.
Yeah.
Like I had some watermelon over the summer and I was like, I need a little bit of carb. I had to eat 500 grams of watermelon to get the like 30 grams of carbs I need. I was like, holy shit.
Yep.
So like, I mean, I think that's the cool part about tracking, or at least this time with my cutting and figuring out like what fits my macros. Cause I've just been following the macros mostly. I haven't been really strict on what the actual intake is. And that's pretty interesting. Cause even then I can have, like yesterday, I had a sandwich from Snarf's. Now I know it makes me gain like 2 extra pounds because of whatever sodium shit they put in there or whatever, but it doesn't make me feel like shit. And I'm still getting protein. Like it works for me.
Yeah.
Well,
Nathan, any more questions?
I don't think I have anything else. We're going on about an hour and a half here. So if there's anything else you have, or Aaron, anything else you want to say or shout out to the people, or?
No, I would just say, thanks for having me, guys. For the people, the details matter, right? And I would strongly encourage everyone to give yourself like a dedicated, concerted effort of 4 to 6 months if you never have. Hire a good coach, one of these guys for sure. The thing that I always like to say is you're already spending your coaching budget typically on the exact things that are preventing you from reaching your goals, like your Uber Eats and your takeout and your restaurant meals, those sorts of things. Like,
Talk to me if
go
that's not
through
a
and
good
add up
pitch.
Yeah.
all the money that you spend. It's already there. It's just being distributed to different things. Challenge yourself, right? Like, you'd be amazed at what you can do with a dedicated effort, someone in your corner, and just saying, I'm going to give it my all for 4 to 6 months, and then see how you feel, right? The way I always say is, I've never had a successful client who's said that, like, it's not worth it and it was a waste of time and I'm going back. Like, everyone who's made it was always so over the moon about it and has made, pretty much lifelong changes, which is always the goal there.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, we'll link Aaron's Instagram in the description below. If you want to go check him out, go give him a follow. He's got tons of awesome content on there.
I was gonna say, you have the upgrade thing, Aaron. You got the spreadsheets you sell. You have a podcast that you do. What is it you don't do? It's a better question.
I'm taking advantage of when I have the time to just work all the time. For example, it's Saturday night, it's 9:25, and I'm sitting here with you guys. I know that those years are nearing the end where I'm gonna have to be, I shouldn't say going to have to be, I'm going to be a family man and stuff, and not have the time to dedicate whenever to work. So I'm really trying to throw everything at it now so that I can intelligently scale back and stuff when time comes.
Absolutely.
Is that what the kittens were? Is that the trial run? Make sure that you want to make sure you have kids.
Yeah,
Is that what's going on there?
To be completely honest, it's been orders of magnitude more work than I had anticipated. and I will not lie, I do a disproportionately smaller amount of the work than my girlfriend does.
That's
you got it figured out then. You've got it figured out. That's it.
I was gonna say, I think you might have picked a winner then, because it sounds like you get to be super disciplined. You get to focus on your shit, and then you don't even have to take care of the cats. Like, you're killing it.
Awesome. Well, Aaron, thank you again for spending some of your night with us. We appreciate it. We thank you for your time, and keep crushing it, man. We're gonna, like I said, go give him a follow on the Instagram. We'll put the link in the description below, and go check out all the cool stuff Aaron's doing.
Thanks for the opportunity, guys.
Yep. Thank you, man.